I hope I don't end up like one of those weird old New Yorkers that chokes on a peanut and dies and no one even misses me.
Honey, I would miss you.
Get in the slow lane, ladies.
She gave us the finger, Ross.
Fascist.
Give her the finger.
Fascist! You go eat some kale. Yeah, you better run.
Sorry. It's tight quarters. I like your glasses.
I would like to introduce everyone to the new art director.
Oh, hey, Doris.
I just wanted another cup of coffee.
Let me just get out of your way.
Ow! I'm so sorry.
You did that on purpose, didn't you?
No.
Yeah, you did. Doris? Doris, are you okay?
Oh, yeah.
He's very different than me. It just seems impossible.
You need to find common interests.
He's on Facebook. Let's make a fake account.
You're taking dating advice from a 13-year-old.
She needs a name.
Lilith Primrose. Or Lilith Comeswell.
Let's just stick with Primrose.
Okay.
His favorite band is playing this Saturday night. You have to go.
Doris?
Your outfit is fierce.
I dress seasonally and monochromatically. What's your method, Doris?
I don't have a method.
You're a true original.
Why, thank you.
Niles and I are looking for a model to be on the cover of my new album.
Oh.
Niles, can you get our digits?
Get my what?
We need your phone number.
Have you got a pencil?
Nobody has pencils anymore.
You guys know Doris? She's kind of weird. She's like a good weird. What about you, Doris? You ever been in love?
I was engaged once.
Really?
He got a job in Arizona, and he asked me to go with him. I couldn't leave my mother. It would have killed her.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's like somebody stole my friend and replaced her with a wild animal.
These people have really welcomed me into the world.
Can you be honest with yourself? He's barely old enough to vote.
You're just jealous because I'm having fun and doing things with other people and not just you. Your husband died 15 years ago. Move on.
You have packets of duck sauce in your refrigerator from the 1970s.
It keeps.
I'm awake, and
I joined the LGBT knitting community. I'm not a lesbian, but I'm me there.
You know, I feel that way in Staples.
Guys, congratulations on this movie. This is such a great film. It's so funny and it's so smart. And I'll say right off the bat, there's a turning point in the movie, and I think it's near the end of the first act, where you realize that this movie is going to do something different with your character and with this story, and it becomes really believable and kind of honest, and it doesn't end up doing the thing that we always see happening with love stories with women of a certain age or even men of a certain age. Was that when you fell in love with the script as well? I mean, I'm talking about when she goes to the show, to the Jack Antonoff show. Was that when you possibly fell in love with the script too, or knew that this was a different kind of story?
I fell in love with the story and the character from the get-go, the whole thing. I mean, it isn't, I've never seen anything like this. It isn't a love story at all, not in the slightest bit. I mean, the media that wants to sell it as that quick bite of a line, you know, this cougar-esque thing. And it's just not about that at all. It's a coming of age of a woman of age. And in reality, all our lives we're coming of age. And that kind of is what it's about, in that she has this fantasy life that she lives in her head, and that the John character she falls for, it is what brings her out of her cocoon, out of her shell that she's never been able to walk away from. So it really is about her stepping forward into the next part of her life.
The John character is less about having a love interest and more about having a sort of physical embodiment of what she needs in terms of moving forward, something that can burst the shell for her.
You know,
yeah,
it's the lure. But ultimately, you see her change and flower. But John does too. The Max Greenfield, who's so wonderful in it. You see him, who's also lost. I mean, we're all we're all awkward, and we're all isolated, and we're all lonely, and we're, as human beings, just looking to contact another human being so we don't feel so lost and alone. And he's in exactly the same place. What do you think, Showalter?
I agree. Everything that she just said, I completely agree.
Michael, how did you get involved in this movie?
Well, I wrote it. And so when I... offered the script to myself
I thought
to write.
I thought it was a short film beforehand.
Yes. I'm just being
We
a
just
smart
take it.
aleck. I'm just being a smart aleck.
just decided to smack you around a little.
I'm happy to get smacked around. I was just worried that I was actually wrong. I was like, fuck, did I not
No,
say something?
no. No, I'm totally going to change the subject for a second. But,
Please.
I've actually once auditioned for a part that was described in the breakdown as a Michael Showalter type. And I didn't get the job.
Did you know what a Michael Showalter type was?
Well, it was like it wasn't a big deal, the thing, but it was like maybe like a cartoon something or other, and it was like a Michael Showalter type, and I auditioned for it and I didn't get the job.
But how did they define what defines a Michael Showalter type? That's-
Richard Gere got
Extremely
the part.
good looking, extremely good looking, extremely suave.
Right. Got that.
A sort of a raw sensuality.
Is anyone getting that vibe, or?
Mostly the raw sensuality, I would say, would be the primary.
So Sally, it must have been hard for you to concentrate on set with so much raw sensuality coming from the director. And then...
No, the sensuality was cooked when we were shooting the movie. I cooked it just for the movie. And then I immediately let it go raw again after the... but we... yes, the movie was... there was a short film called Doris and the Intern, which my co-writer Laura Taruso made as a film student. And I saw the movie, and I just thought it was so funny and so fun, and the character was so interesting. And so Laura and I became friends, and we started working together and writing together, and we tried out a bunch of different ideas of a story to write, and we kind of came back to, hey, what if we took this Doris character and expanded it into a feature? And in the process of writing the movie, got to know the character in ways that you don't know you're going to find out as you just kind of keep finding more things out, and as you get to know the character a little bit more, you find yourself writing things more about the character that need to be said. And so it was a very gradual process for me of just starting with an idea and a character, this character of Doris, and what's her deal and what's her story, and then we just kind of kept going and going and going.
Did you find yourself in writing it sort of leaning away from jokes that you could find easier to make in a story like this?
Yeah, I mean, we never ever, I love the character of Doris. We love her. We root for her. We identify with her. I think, I think anyone who sees this movie will find themselves identifying with certain things she's going through. She's falling in love. She's having her heart broken. She's stepping out into the world in a way that we all confront fear and all these different things, and that's just what she's going through. And so I really related to the character, and we never wanted this to be a situation where we're laughing at her because she's an underdog or anything like that. This is a character I want people to relate to and identify with as much as as much as she's also a unique person. And
you really do root for her. Like there's a sense, like I said, I mean, at the show, suddenly it hit me in that moment, like, I really want this character to win, and it doesn't necessarily have to be this relationship that she seems to want. She just needs to win somehow at the end of this movie. You really end up feeling that, which is kind of a rarity with movies. You root for something that hard. Sally, you don't necessarily make a number of movies a year. I feel like you're pretty choosy in the movies that you want to do these days. So what was it about this story, and what is the process for you in choosing a movie that you're going to do?
Well, certainly with this, it's just not anything I'd ever seen before, or been offered before, or done before. I don't want to do any more in my life. I've been doing this for so long. I've been a professional actor for 53 years. And so I don't want to do the things. I don't want to stand at the door and say, bye, guys, hey, drive carefully, I'll have dinner ready when you get home, and the story's all on them as they take off for the day. There's no reason for me to do that. I'm fine without working, and luckily I don't need to, not totally. And I just keep looking for something that is just talks to me in it, either as an actor, because I've never done that kind of territory. In this particular film, I mean, Michael and I talked about it a lot. It has so many delicate threads and tones that are woven together. It's a tiny film. It would not. It's very independent. It would not be made at a major studio if for no other reason you can't define it. They like to be able to define what the film is. You got to be able to say, what kind of film is this? Give us in one sentence, what is this film? You can't do that about this film. It doesn't fit into any specific category. It's highly comedic. I mean, physical comedy, it's screwball comedy on one level, and then it's also very tragic. I mean, it's sad. It has a deep sadness in it that when Doris is finally able to reveal some of her sadnesses, and to weave that together, to weave that territory together is really challenging, because if it goes awry, it really bumps against you and you think, wait a minute, what movie am I in? So it was our constant dialogue, me going, that works? And he goes, yes.
How did you
works?
How did you work that out on set? Is that a situation of doing sort of safety takes in terms of like, well, we did it this way, and that's really funny, but maybe we should do it this way just in case in the edit, you know, we should play this tone rather than that tone, or are you just sort of moving quickly with your instincts?
Yeah, we shot it in 3 weeks with 3 days here in New York. And so there isn't a lot of time to be precious with yourself or to rethink very much.
No.
I mean, we had to really futz with and understand the fantasies and how you get in and out of them and how you show them, and that was hard.
But I mean, Sally does, you know, is a very, you know, Sally had a performance that she was going to give,
regardless of what he said.
And she sort of throws herself into every scene, every moment, and so it's not so much playing. You're not really playing as much as you do the scene and she's doing that, and then afterwards we might check in with each other and be like, did we get that right? You know? And more often than not, we did, but sometimes we didn't, and then we would talk and kind of figure it out.
We decided, but you didn't, you know, it wasn't a kind of film where you could do, you know, 12, 13 takes, or, you know, or there are directors who want take after, we have to move on. We don't have time. And that to me is really fun, because I have such a weird and unorthodox career that I've been through so much of you know, situation comedies and television and having to shoot really quickly. So really flying by the seat of your pants is exciting. You got to do it. You got to just stick it. You got to stick the landing every time. There's not a lot of time to futz with it. The blend of, for an actor to play with comedic crying, because there's a tone to it, almost butted up against real tragic crying, and that's you know,
like
a tone in your head.
After, you know, she's like getting drunk and drinking wine, and then that's kind of funny. But then the next day is when the brother-in-law and the therapist come over, and then that scene, I'm sure you all know exactly what I'm talking about.
No, they don't, so don't give it away.
That scene, not so funny. And so you do kind of want to make sure that you're not just doing the same thing over and over again. But what I love so much about Sally's performance in the movie, and I've seen the movie so many times and I see something different every time, is all those levels. There's everything. She's sad, she's funny, she's angry, she's happy, she's crying, she's laughing, she's arguing with somebody, she's dancing. There is just so many different layers to what we get to see in this character. And so it was fun to go to work every day and kind of watch it come to life.
Well, that's something that she brings to the table so much as an actress, but I imagine this is something that you bring to the table as a director as well, having come from the State and Wet Hot American Summer, and knowing how to hone and finely tune parody, spoof, and straight comedy, but then at the same time doing something like The Baxter and learning on your feet how to also do something that's a little more believable and realistic, and bringing those two together in this movie. Did you find that to be a challenge, or did you find that was kind of like in your wheelhouse and you were sort of ready to do this at that point?
Both. I mean, it was definitely in my wheelhouse in that I wanted to do this. I wanted to take this step in my career. I wanted to have the opportunity to show this other side of me that's always been there. And truthfully, I was talking last night to somebody and they asked me, well, what did you learn from Sally on this movie? And one of the things that she was really up in my grill about was like, believe in yourself, Don't let people tell you who you are, and don't let people tell you that you're not who you think you are, and kind of believe in yourself, and right? Yeah. And because there are those moments you go, I don't think I can do this, or like they're telling me this.
Or second guessing yourself because somebody said something would come up and go, well,
that's
I
what
don't
it
know.
would be
And
a
you
lot.
go,
It would be like
maybe
someone
I'm
would tell
wrong.
me,
Maybe I'm wrong.
Someone would tell me something and she'd go, don't listen to other people, trust yourself. And
so Sally, you were Michael's biggest defender on set, it sounds like, or his biggest cheerleader at times.
Well, he was my guiding star. I every time I would look at him, I knew whether we landed where we needed to land, and I watched him sometime waver when other strong voices would come in and say, I don't know, and then I felt myself getting frightened because he would waver, and I needed him to not waver. So in some ways, it was my need for him to be certain, so that I could be certain. So it was a weird kind of symbiotic leaning on each other. I think that we were doing. I don't know if you were aware of it, but you knew you were aware of it because I needed you to know.
Yeah.
And even if you didn't know, you knew. I needed you to go, I know.
Yeah. No, it was great. I mean, it was the best. It was the best.
Can you talk about casting some of the people around Sally? I mean, Max Greenfield is really fantastic, but then we have just sort of a plethora of like young comedic talent. Kyle Mooney is in it. Kumail is in it.
Kumail Nanjiani, Jack Antonoff.
Yeah.
Natasha Lyonne is in the film.
Stephen Root is in it. Not young comedic talent.
Beth Bears from Two Broke Girls. Tyne Daly.
Tyne Daly is so great. The scene that you and Tyne have near the end of the film, she's such a great Tyne Daly moment, which is just sort of stern but kind of crying, like she's working her way up there, just slowly brooding. It's such a great Tyne Daly moment.
She's so wonderful in the film. She's the friend you always wanted to have all your life. That one that will yell at you when she thinks you're off, and who's vulnerable herself, but who no matter what, there she is, who will come running to you. It's sort of a dream friend. Do they exist like that? I don't know.
I don't know. But can you talk about casting some of the other people in the movie, like Kyle Mooney?
Well, I mean, Kyle was someone who I had seen like his videos, and he is so hysterically funny. And I thought I was contacted by one of his representatives who said, "Hey, is there a part for Kyle Mooney in this?" And we basically created that character for him to play, come and just do Kyle. And so Kyle plays a sort of hipster fashion photographer, and he plays sort of Jack plays a musician, and Kyle Mooney plays his kind of BFF fashion photographer. And he really, with that character, it was like, here's the character, here's what he does in the movie, just think of something funny.
Yeah.
And have fun with it. And
you just got to
so he kind of brought in this character. He brought in this character who's sort of like every third word is a curse word of some kind, and which plays very opposite of Doris, who's so kind of in that sense anyway, very reserved, and he's hysterical. He is hysterically funny in the film. And then some of the other people, I mean, Kumail is someone I've known for a long time, and Natasha is someone I've known for a long time. And it was just wanting to make sure that in every role we cast likable, talented, great people. And I think we do.
And it allowed us to do improv and keep, and fill the spaces in with life.
Were you excited to do improv? Are you an adept improviser?
I am within my own realm. I mean, you don't expect me to do stand up, but I
punchline. I mean,
as an actor, I really like improving in scenes within character, and it helps flesh out what's going on inside their heads and fill in things that maybe aren't there. So it isn't just a line. It's alive.
Can you talk about Doris's outfits? They're amazing. They're really amazing. I'm wondering how much of that was in the script detailed, or how much of that was you, Sally, and how much of that was working with the costume department?
I mean, the script basically says she wears the cat-eye glasses. That's definitely something that existed from day one, and a kind of a sense that she's like an eccentrically dressed person. But that was it.
Yeah.
And then Sally and the costume designer, Rebecca Gregg.
I found the hairdo online. Actually, that hairdo is Bridget Bardot. It's copied from a Bridget Bardot hairdo in 1952, except she had blonde hair, and she had the bangs that swooped down like that. So I just cut my bangs off really short because I thought it would look wrong, and then you tie the big scarf around it. But the costume designer, Rebecca Gregg, got rack after rack after rack of old, vintage, historic clothes from the clothing houses, the wardrobe houses, which is Western Costume and Universal wardrobe department, that are all downsizing. We're losing all these historic clothes. The name tag will still be in the back of some garment that says Natalie Wood, Splendor in the Grass. So all of these clothes, I had a Natalie Wood on, I had a little Julie Harris, I had
Carl Malden.
Carl Malden was kind of like throughout, but we didn't know who Doris was, and we had only 3 days to find her, and we just started playing dress up, and somehow by the end of the day we had maybe one outfit, and Michael would run over from his office somewhere in the middle of Hollywood and look and say, yes, you're in the right territory. And it's just that Doris somehow emerged out of this pile of old clothes. There she slowly started to rise, and then there she was. By the end of the third day, we had like 32 outfits, or however many it is. It's an astonishing amount.
It's a testament to both of your talents that Doris can be so eccentric in her clothes at times, eccentric in her fantasies and the way she interacts with everybody, but at the same time so believable by the end of the film and all throughout the film. It's a really incredible achievement in that regard. I'm going to turn it over to audience questions. Does anyone have any questions out here in the audience?
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a huge fan of your work. One of my favorite roles of yours is Mrs. Doubtfire. Do you have any favorite roles for your body of work?
Do I have any favorite roles? Mm-hmm. Megan, I have this pat answer that I hate to give to you. It sort of wrecks it by the fact I said it was a pat answer and didn't act like I just thought of it. But I always say I hope I haven't done it yet. My favorite role, I hope I haven't done it yet. Oh, did she just think of that? That was smart. No, I don't know. I really don't like to look back, is the truth. And maybe I'm a lot like Doris in that way. I hope that I'm able to move forward and I'm not clinging on to something that I was rather than finding out what's left for me. So that's kind of my answer. Right now, my favorite thing is Doris, and that will fade, and I'll move on to the next one.
And then we'll see each other on the street, and we won't
barely,
even
hello,
know each other.
Hello.
Do I remember you?
Yes, hello, David. How are you?
No, it's Michael. It's Michael.
Next question.
Hi. I think in this role especially, we could say the clothes make the woman, and I know that you have already spoken about the outfits. But I'm curious, which one left the biggest impression on you, especially seeing as how you said there were things that were worn by Natalie Wood or Julie Harris?
Carl Malden.
We're gonna ignore. I'm ignoring the Carl Malden one.
Honestly, it's not that they left an impression on me. They were so nasty in reality because they were real. A lot of them were old, and the good ones said Natalie Wood. The rest of them said nobody's name on it, and they just were rank. I smelled like an old dead sheep. I could barely lower my arms in some of them because they were so crusty underneath the arms, and it was like, am I telling a lie? They were sickening. And they were itchy and tight and weird. They were tight in all the wrong places. And there was one sweater that I had to wear for many different scenes. I wore it for a long period of time. So and it was hot. We shot it in the middle of summer in Los Angeles. And it was 100 bagillion degrees. And I had on 18 layers of smelly, horrible, itchy wool. So there was, other than that, it was dandy. There was one moment I think that I found in one because I still had this yellow sweater on that I just took the whole thing off. Luckily, I'd planned it so I had things on underneath. That was it. I'd had it with the sweater.
It's in the movie.
It's in the movie.
She just rips the whole thing off.
I just find it if I could have shoved it into the garbage, I would have.
Next question.
Hi, it's an honor to have both of you guys here. I have two questions, one for Michael. I know we touched bases on how long it took for the movie to shoot, which was 3 weeks, but how long did it take you to write it? And I also wanted to ask you, Miss Sally, the film looks like a tremendous amount of energy and fun. How did you relate yourself to Doris as far as bringing that youthful spirit in such a character? And how do you relate in any aspect of your life, 53 years in acting, how has one of her characteristics, like, can you compare yourself to? Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. You first, me first. You first. Me first. It's a multifaceted question. And I hope I remember all the multifacets of the question. What aspect of Doris stuck with me? You know, I've said this before. I think every time I've had the great opportunity, the gift of doing characters that are really complicated and three-dimensional, I know that there's parts of them that stay with me. And I don't know in what way until a long time later where I'll be doing something and I think, and I have a deja vu feeling of, oh, that's something I did or something I said, and you get some feeling from it, and I have to stop myself and go, oh, I didn't say that. That was the character said that. But it imprints on me so strongly, it's like my own experience. And I had that with several characters that changed me in some way that I can't really tell. But it usually takes a while. So I don't know quite how Doris has changed me. I know she has. I know that there are aspects of her character that still are like bubbling around inside of me and will manifest themselves, I hope, in a way that people don't think I'm very weird, but who knows. And the energy. I've always had just a lot of energy. I've had reviewers, I remember in the past, saying, I basically have never been able to stand her nervous energy. I remember that. So when I thought, it's nervous energy? Whoops. And that's a review I remember. And I don't read reviews, so that's probably why I don't read them, because I hang on to that negative. So I've just always had a lot of energy, and I've had to learn how to contain it, because it really can be in your face and obnoxious, and on the screen it can be irksome. So this was a character I could call upon the part of me that still is very oddly childlike. It is. It truly is. Is it? Don't answer that question. I think that was all my question.
How long did it take to write the movie? I think it took either somewhere between 2 to 3 years, and that's not like nonstop. We would write, and then we would go away from it for a bit and send each other emails back and forth, and it comes in dribs and drabs, and then then there's big moments where you surge forward in a big way, and you. One thing I will say is, and just to that, you write these characters that in a lot of ways are like aspects of who you wish you were, and that's what I learned from the things I write is like you're writing characters that have a certain amount of courage or conviction of belief or that stand for something that you as a person kind of wish you could be like that. And so I learn from my characters because I write people that are like the way I wish I was, kind of. And but I think it took us about, and then the last 6 months was like really intense. So you kind of get the movie to a place where it's kind of good enough to maybe get someone to hopefully make it. And then when they say they'll make it, then you really need to write. Then you're like, oh my God, we got to make this movie. And then you really need to do a lot of work on it all of a sudden. So.
Next question.
Hello, guys. Thanks for being here. This is a question for you, Sally. What have you learned from the late great Robin Williams? Like, what did you learn from him that resonated in your life? when you was working with him with Mrs. Doubtfire?
Wow. Certainly the experience of working with Robin for all those many months will always be a treasured part of my memory bank. But I can't say I really learned anything from Robin, really. We live in such a different territory as actors. But I tell you what, I adored him. He was a spectacular human. And yes, we know how funny he was, and he could drive you insane because he just never quit. Stop. But he was such a good man. He was a good and decent man who wanted to be a good father, and it was a big part of his life. And he had a lot of troubles going on in his head. He was so gifted, and whether the troubles were there before the talent or the talent was part of the troubles, I don't know. It's a curious deal. I wish he was still around. I wish I could watch him age into a different kind of performer. But if wishes were horses, then beggars would ride. He's gone, and we have a lot of great memories of him, and I know I have precious memories of him.
Next question.
Hi, I'm a huge fan of both of you. My question's for Michael, though. I'm wondering what's next for you in terms of comedy, and if you and the Stella crew are working on anything, and if there's going to be another season of Topics.
Wow. That was really a question for me. I have a question for you. Were you watching the show on your phone at the same time that we were up here? What were you doing?
You were live on Facebook, on AOL.com's Facebook. I work for AOL.com.
I see.
Yeah.
You all are not just off the street, I can tell you right now. You all are professional people in this. This is not somebody that just, hey, would you like to come to a...
What gives you that idea?
Except for maybe you right there.
It's like when when you were a kid and I'd have dinner with my parents and their friends or older relatives or something, and they'd literally say to me I want you to think of 3 questions. They'd say when you're gonna eat dinner with the grown-ups tonight, I want you to think of 3 questions to ask Aunt Barbara or whatever. No, but I was I don't know if you saw, but she was sitting there literally. We're up here talking, and she's just staring at a phone. There it is.
I thought she was filming us.
Oh, were you filming it? Oh,
yes.
You were filming.
She liked it so much she was filming us. You see how he goes to a negative place. He immediately thought.
I just love I love the idea that's how she uses her phone. She has a holder for her phone when she's just using it herself.
Yeah, well, and there is a holder for it too. I mean, just the whole thing is just. Oh, please. I can't help it.
Answer the question.
Yes. I would love to do more topics. Michael and I talk about it all the time. Michael Black and I talk about it all the time, and we want to do it, but we're both really busy, but also really lazy, and we need to turn on microphones and stuff. We don't know how to do. Neither he or I is very good at that. So we're always having technical problems, but we definitely want to do it. And then in terms of what's next, and then Stella, yes, we have talked about it. Now I'm worried that you don't like me anymore and that you don't care what my answer is, and that you don't care anymore what my answer is. Let's do the next question.
No, I care.
I think he needs help from you in reality because he can't turn on his microphone.
She's mad at me. I can feel it.
Let it go. You know what?
What if I ask the question, because I'm a fan of all of these things as well.
Okay, good.
Michael, I've loved Stella since they were shorts online and the show on Comedy Central. Are we going to get any more of it?
Hopefully.
We also had a great season of Wet Hot American Summer, The Return on Netflix.
Yes.
I think that's going to be one of those situations where no matter how many you make them, people are going to immediately ask as soon as they're done, when are you doing it again? So when are you doing it again?
Or could it be, are we even going to do them again?
You are. When?
How do you know that?
Because I want it.
Well, what I wanted you to say is, are you going to do more?
And what would have been that answer?
The answer would have been, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh. He's having a seizure. What do we do now?
Maybe Sally Field will be on the next season of Wet Hot American Summer.
That would be amazing.
Really? I think I might be busy. I'm not sure.
Okay, all right.
I would like to see Sally sort of Doris with Molly Shannon's character as like their friends. They seem like they would be buddies on Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah.
Wet Hot American Summer.
I could see that.
Just throwing it out there.
Okay. I'll run that one up the flagpole. And
Hello, my name is Doris. It's so wonderful. It's so funny. You're both incredibly talented, and Sally, it's an amazing performance. Congratulations. Comes out this Friday, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Friday in New York and LA.
Friday, New York and LA, and then
after that, it'll be in every city and hopefully everywhere on the planet.
it will roll out to every city around the planet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.